Okay, so our last but not the least speaker, okay, is school principal 2 at Bantakan Elementary School, New Bataan District, Division of Compostela Valley, now Davao de Oro. Okay, so the Vice President of the Philippine Elementary School Principals Association of the Compostela Valley Division, and the President of the Philippine Elementary School Principals Association of the New Bataan District. He received, or he was the most outstanding junior educator Gawad Vice Governor Ramil Gentugaya Award, also the most outstanding school principal Gawad Performance Award, and the best center during the school-based management Region 11. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be welcome fresh from Davao de Oro. We have here Sir Andy P. Cabodoc. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Dear friend, I missed you so much.
How is my audio there?
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. First and foremost, I would like to express my gratitude to Doc Lito Adanza for inviting me and to be part of this endeavor of the General Santos City Division for this international webinar for the Araling Panlipunan teachers. Doc Lit, thank you very much. And for the whole official of the City of General Santos City DepEd, thank you very much. And we will be running the session for 1 to 1 and 1.5 hours if I can finish this one. And I know we can really finish this one for this 34 slides that I am preparing. Thank you very much. Can we start now? The ball rolling?
Sure, sir.
Okay, once again, good afternoon to all of you. And good day to everyone, and good evening who are our counterparts from other parts of the globe. I am your learning facilitator for 1.5 hours and presumed to be your last speaker today. As introduced by one of our colleagues as part of the member of the TWG, I am Andy Figos Cabodoc, the school principal too of the Department of Education, Philippines. Good luck, and keep your eyes on me and to the slide decks. I'm gonna showing for your convenient learning. Now let's start the ball rolling, and the whole duration of the talks will anchor to the teacher's competence and the learning competencies, its effect to distance education in turbulent times, and this will also anchor to the that has been mentioned when I was introduced this afternoon. Now, the learning objectives, let me present first my slides. Oh.
Wala pa, sir.
For a while.
Present now.
Yes. What about this? Can you see it now?
Wala pa rin.
Wala pa rin. Okay. For a while.
Ayan.
For a while, please. How about How about that one? Can you see it now?
Ano lang siya, Sir Andy, yung parang
How about this one?
desktop content, distribution, LDM, international webinar.
Oh. For a while. Okay. Present now.
Naka-open na yung slides, ang imuhang PowerPoint.
Yes. Here.
I-open na.
Okay, naka-open na for a while na. Okay, for a while. It is already open here.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Present now sa ilalim, sir.
Yes po.
Yan na.
Okay na, sir.
What
Okay na.
about this one? Can you
Ano?
say it? No?
Yes po, sir.
Okay na.
Okay. Okay. Nakikita na ba ng lahat?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay na.
Okay, this will be now our session objectives. I have prepared 4 objectives. Number 1 is identify logistical components of distance education as delivery systems, approaches, and benefits. Number 2, you'll be equipped with managing distance education in turbulent times. And number 3, you'll be updated, or teachers will be updated on the competence and response to challenges. And finally, you will be embracing learning competencies developed amidst tests of times. These objectives led us to the 1.5 delivery of this session. Good luck to all of us, and you may float your comments or you may float your questions in the chat box if you have your queries. If you have, just float them randomly. That will be addressed one at a time. Or else, you may present your question live or virtually. I will just have to stop my discussion if I am prompted by the webinar staff or by our technical working group. Okay? Now, let us begin. Now, give your thought upon seeing the words distance education aside from what is present in the slides. What comes to your mind and how these thoughts help us embrace in-depth understanding of distance education? Folks, you will be guided more as we go through the logistical components of distance education in the next few slides. Just present or just note your thoughts in the comment box or in the chat box. We will be reading that one, or I will ask the technical working group to read all your thoughts that can be seen in our chat box. But let's dig out the roots of distance education. How distance education started, where it began, and what possibly the country started the distance education. Is the distance education is only intended during turbulent times or during trying times or during pandemic times? Now, according to the Accountability Journal, Research and Development in Education, distance learning or distance education established its roots as a form of instruction for at least 150 years ago as correspondence study. You heard it right, correspondence study. Therefore, the first or the distance education was originally called correspondence study. Again, correspondence study. Distance education was then not new to any universities because some of our universities, not only here in the Philippines, but around the globe, are opening distance education, or this what we call correspondence education. It is good today because we can use our technology as part of the learning delivery modalities in the distance education. Probably, this was called as correspondence study or correspondence education before because we could no longer use yet the internet, the cell phones. It will be through writing and mailing. So that's the reason why distance education was called, how do you call it? That is called correspondence education or correspondence study. Now, one of the logistical components as we go forward of the distance education is the instructional delivery systems, which can be channeled in 6 ways. You have heard it right. Distance education can be channeled in 6 ways. One of which is the self-directed and independent study. This is where the learners and students are given instructional materials, may it digital or print, for them to interact with self-paced. The students are given allocated time when to return back the learning materials, the learning facilitators or the teachers to check and give feedback on the progress of the students and learners. That is what we call self-directed and independent study, where this channel of distance education are commonly practiced at present, especially in the remote areas, or that what we call remote education. Now, the second one, or the number 2, is the correspondence, where the teacher provides instructional materials by mail or electronic transmission, including the examination and assessment. Now you have heard it right. The assessment and examination is included as the correspondence study or correspondence education is done. So therefore, it is not only the learning materials that is given or that are given to the learners, not even the assessment or examination itself. Now, the interaction of the teachers and students in correspondence study is very limited. It is not regular and it is not substantive. And primarily, the communication is initiated by the students or the learners. Why? It is because that the queries of the learners will be catered by the teachers in their own ways. Ibig ba nating sabihin na magkakaiba-iba po ang mga kakailanganin ng ating mga estudyante. So therefore, in accordance to how they interact with the learning materials, that is how they present their progress and questions to the teachers. So that is why it is initiated first by the students or the learners. What the teacher's responsibilities on this channel of distance education is to follow up learners on their progress. But where is how the learners progress to the learning materials or the competency that has been studied, that will be initiated by the students. Now, the third one is this what we call satellite, where the use of the system is not only for students in remote areas. This is not only intended for remote areas, but it is also used by everyone interested in learning. Schools with satellite distance education systems has or have to manage their class schedule according to the television broadcasting schedule. Large countries like India, vitality of satellite communication was recognized as long back in 1960s. So therefore, distance education in India was already practiced in 1960s. Mind it, no? You have heard it right. That distance education in India was already practiced in the year 1960. Now, what is the situation of this country? Why they are practicing distance education satellite? India is a large country with an area of 3.2 million square kilometers and a population of 935 million. So therefore, in every 3.2 million square kilometers, it has a population of 932 million. This is according to the European Space Agency provided by the NASA Astrophysics Data System. So this is why, or this is the reason behind why is it that India is practicing distance education satellite, because of these situations that they have. Now the fourth one is this what we call broadcast. Now, in broadcasting, the advancement of the communications technologies, distance learning programs are rapidly expanded. So distance education is now defined as the acquisition of knowledge and skills through mediated information and instruction, encompassing all technologies and other forms of learning at a distance. So this is all about broadcasting. Now the fifth one is this what we call video conferencing. That sometimes we are using in some ways of our meetings that we have practiced at present. We use the Google, we have the Google Meet, we have also the Zoom that we are using this one. Now, what is video conferencing all about as far as distance education is concerned? Now, in the video conferencing, where for the past decade, video conferencing or VC has become more popular and more reliable as a tool to bridge the distance gap when travel is not an option, impractical and undesired. Say for example, this time, we do not need to have our uh, group study. We do not need to have our gatherings, and we do not need to meet in a certain areas with a number of participants because it is really a big no-no as far as our IATF is concerned. So that is mentioned, or that is a prohibition in the guidelines for our IETF. So therefore, the most applicable and relevant uh, channel is this one, video conferencing. Video conferencing uses audio and video communications to bring people at different sites together, and through this one, we can communicate right away. And we can even interact with other people, with other members in a group through virtual. Therefore, it is something uh, somewhat like we are having our face-to-face because we can really communicate with each other. We can interact right away. Now, finally, we have this number 6, the computer-based automated response system. So, what is this all about? Now, is the computer-based automated response system where pre-downloaded lessons are given to learners for them to interact following self-paced activities and instruction. So, these 6 are the channel for distance education as far as instructional delivery system is concerned. Thus, distance education is a long practiced delivery of instruction. When we are going to sum this all up, this was already practiced long before. So it might be this is new to us, but in some other countries, this is already practiced. Or I may not say this is not new to us. Why? Because some of our secondary schools or even our alternative learning system are practicing or is practicing this distance education. We must be noted that this was not only introduced during turbulent times, but implemented all through the decades, particularly advanced and large countries. Countries to countries, schools to schools, distance education today is implemented in different platforms, may it in digital or print to suit the learnings of the learners, considering the geographical and economic situation of the community. So therefore, we cannot easily implement this distance education without addressing the needs of the community. Now, the next or uh, the second, no, the second delivery or this what we call the uh, distance education logistical components is this what we call distance education approaches. I know this is not new to you because I think you are also studying or this was already introduced to you or this is already introduced to you. Now, one of the approaches is this what we call synchronous. Now, what this is all about? Participants are in the same space and at the same time in order to attend to the material of teaching. All the students should assemble before the TV or broadcast to receive instructional materials. It is more close to traditional classroom. This is all about synchronous. So I will not dig this up in depth because I know you have already an idea for this. And the second one is this what we call asynchronous. The instruction is delivered at different points of time, usually recorded in videos, print materials, and etc. Learners have freedom to receive the instruction at their own time, space, and pace. So these two are the distance education approaches. Now let's go to the benefits of distance education. I have prepared, through my research, I have prepared here, I think, 6 benefits of distance education. One is providing speedy and efficient training. Now, let us have to be guided that distance education often beneficial to its key players. Now, in the next few slides, I will be revealing to you who are the key players of distance education. Now, distance education gives comfort when properly planned and well implemented. Tough and rough times are not felt when implementing in the test of time. Meaning, you have to embrace because choosing other platforms are not of the option. Thus, distance education brought most likely benefits not only to teachers and even to learners, to students, and even to the community. And what are they? Okay. Again, as I mentioned, providing speedy and efficient training. How this thing happen? Students are given self-paced education depends on how they interact with the learning materials, and teachers are equipped with technologies that aid their task. So when teachers and students are aided as how this distance education is implemented, now this will provide efficient and speedy training. Now the second one is balancing inequalities. You might be wondering, how are we going to balance inequalities? Okay? When can we say inequality is balance? Is there really equilibrium in inequalities? These are questions that we need to address. This education curve down access to this pathway in instructional delivery. Yet, we need to hope that education shall continue amidst challenging time. We need to weigh in order to put some or same weight on the significance of normal education and that one what we use to engage in. So that is what we call balancing equalities. Now, the third one is this what we call getting training in conventional education. How we get training in conventional education as one of the benefits in distance education. Accordingly, and customary traditional conventional education output plays primordial role in distance education. You have heard it right that customary traditional and conventional education plays primordial role in distance education. Why? Because its content and concept are carried out in the or even it differs only to the platform in the delivery used. So the competencies need to cope are just reduced by the context and yes, the competencies are reduced, the context is maintained. So this is all about getting training in conventional education. Now the fourth one is the opportunity for the empowerment. Now teachers are undeniably the career of instructional delivery. Now teachers are considered the backbone of education. They are empowered to suit the test of time and that they could deliver the culture-based, updated, and relevant education. So we need to empower our teachers. Now, how are we going to empower them? Through these webinars. Listening to webinars are somehow empowering our teachers on how they can cope with the test of time. This will not long last, I know. We and going also their best that the education will be back into their normal ways. So, what are we going to do at present is we need to empower our teachers. Now, the fifth one is improving the quality of existing educational services. How? No? Paano? How are we going to improve the quality amidst turbulent time? Okay, equipping teachers and wise use of technology in the delivery of instruction and the technology used by the students will then improve educational services that are timely and relevant to the situation posed by any disturbances brought just like what we experience at present this pandemic time. So we need that by time we can equip our teachers in the use of technology and even guiding our learners in their use of technology also. It is not only equipping our teachers in the use of technology, but when our teachers are already equipped, they can now guide our learners on how are they going to use technology in learning. So the fifth one, the sixth one, finally, developing multiple competencies. You have it right. One of the benefits of distance education is developing multiple competencies. Now, how multiple competencies competencies are developed in distance education. Now, multiple competencies are developed to suit the needs of the learners on how they will adjust and fit to the new normal in education brought by pandemic. We have to look into account that our learners are always the center of education. So therefore, in all planning that we had, we should have to consider always our learners. Now, how their competencies are developed amidst the difficulties that they have experienced with the teachers in adjusting the new normal in education. So, this time, I will be giving to you the advantages and disadvantages of distance education. Now, if there is no question yet, as far as the previous slide is concerned, I will now continue. Can I continue? May I hear from the TWG?
Yes, very clear.
Okay, thank you.
Continue, my friend.
Thank you very much, Doc Lit. So one of the advantages of distance education is lots of flexibility. How can we flexible amidst this pandemic? Now, distance education brought both advantages and disadvantages. As I mentioned, one of the advantages is the lots of flexibility. Now, on this lots of flexibility, it's all about where teaching and learning can be delivered from anywhere and anytime due availability of gadgets used. So therefore, through the aid of technology and gadgets, we can deliver and we can give, or instructional delivery is perfect. Learners can earn and can learn at the same time. Management of time takes place. Now, we need also to consider the availability of the players of distance education in the flexibility of our time as part of the advantages of distance education. The second one, this will save time and energy. Save time and energy in going to and through to learning institutions. During this time, we are bards going to school. So it is only our parents, as we practice in the Philippines, especially in the print, what is this? Distance education, where our parents are instructed to go to school just to get the modules once in a week or once in every 2 weeks. It depends upon on the competency of the module. So it will save time in going through and through to our learning institutions. The third one is it will lower the costs. Huh? So how costs are lowered as one of the advantages in distance education. Now, not only saving time, cost in distance education is generally cheaper to that of on the campus. Budget for daily individual meals can be utilized and one-stop shop rather than individualized. This is very much true because in a certain family, having 3 or 4 children, parents will be giving penny to these learners, to these four learners individually. Now, when they will be at home, they will be fed as a group. So meaning, they could now save some of those penny as they utilized it. Okay? The fourth one is this what we call study at own place. So, one of the biggest advantages of distance learning or distance education were most comfortable for learners. Number 6, the choice of school. Now, aside from you can study at your own place where you are comfortable, now you can choose the school where you want to enroll. Now, accordingly, the choice of school is at learners can enroll anywhere at their convenience and at their choice. But this is only applicable if you are enrolled in digital. But if you are enrolled in distance education, print, meaning you are using the module print, you need to enroll in the school where your residency nearby. So this number 6, no, this number 6 advantage of distance education will depend upon on the learning modality that you are enrolling. So that's all about the 6 advantages of distance education. Now, let's move on the disadvantages. One is the quality concern. This is one of the drawback and even mga hinaing ng ating mga kaguruan, mga hinaing ng ating mga magulang, and even those who are concerned education. What is now the quality of education amidst this pandemic time or amidst these turbulent times? So, it has been mentioned that teachers' capacity is necessary. Teachers might have limited experience on distance learning, and if use of technology requires efficiency in using such is really important, thus quality of education must be affected. So that's the reason why we need to empower our teachers, not only cognitively, but even emotionally. I am very much happy that there are still series of training mentioned by Dr. Adanza, your Araling Panlipunan supervisor, that there are coming trainings that will guide our teachers mentally and emotionally. So that is good move that the city of General Santos Department of Education is doing or is planning on their next move. Now, the second disadvantage is that what we call hidden costs. It cannot be denied that some of our private schools at present, they are practicing, no, or they are implementing some costs of education that is or additional cost that is not readily apparent. Meaning, we cannot also blame these learning institutions because they are also, what is this? They are also on the process of adjusting themselves to cope with this pandemic time. If there are hidden costs that they are implementing, and I think it only compensates to the delivery of instruction that they are doing or they are implementing. Now, the third one is this what we call misuse of technology. No, misuse of technology. Now, the skills and knowledge in using technology available significantly poor, which hinders presentation of learning materials. Now, sometimes there is already a technology that we might be using no in the delivery of instruction, but sometimes these are misused. No, so what we need here is just a matter of guiding the people or empowering the people who are engaged to in the use of technology. Now, the fourth one is this what we call problems with equipment. Only online learning is usually affected where the bandwidth of internet connection either on the other side of the teachers or the learners, and this problems with the equipment or the gadgets that we are used are sometimes uncontrollable. So therefore, uh, this will be the time. No, this will be the time that our concerns, especially the plan or the learning continuity plan that the school must have, will enter to this disadvantage of education or distance education. Now, the plan, or as I said, the learning continuity plan, I call it the principal's perspective as we craft our learning continuity plan. I titled it school-based learning continuity plan because I really solicit the idea of the teachers under my care. What would be the content of the learning continuity plan of our school? So I am always on the move that or I am always supporting the statement, gone are those days that the school is only managed by the school principal. Today, managing a school is already a collaboration between the teachers, the principals, the PTAs, and other stakeholders, may it internal and external in the school. Now, the last one is what we call social interaction. This is very clear. Now, there is already a limited social interaction because the learners or even the teachers are no longer mingling with each other. So, ibig sabihin, our learners are having their what is their study at home. So their social interaction now is limited. They they are they are only limited to interact with their parents. They are limited to interact with their siblings. Kung meron mo po kayo nakikita, if you are also abridged or updated in the internet, meron po tayong mga kabataan na I do not know if these are jokes. Sabi doon, ma'am, kunin niyo po na kami dito sa bahay. Ang lupit ni mama at ni papa magturo. So, you have to think it off that learning lessons cannot only be happened in the different materials. We need also to socialize because we might be learning actual learning from our counterparts, from peers, and from other people. So, I think that's all about for the distance, the advantages and disadvantages of distance education. At this point, I have already mentioned to you or I would like to reveal to you, as I mentioned a while back, the key players in distance education. Who are the key players in distance education? There are key players in distance education whom occupy vital role as to the delivery of instruction is concerned. May it inform of the learning delivery modalities or in any form, as I mean, in any form of learning delivery modalities. And one of them, of course, our students, our learners. As I said, the students are, or the learners are the center of any educational process. So they are also one of the key players in distance education. There is no distance education when there are no students. Students primarily, or the primary role of student is to learn. Whether we like it or not, this is the primordial role of students, to learn. This is the task which requires motivation and apply the instructional content being taught. Now, where this motivation comes from, especially during pandemic time. In a real situation, if we are going to think in the classroom setting, before we enter into the learning lesson, we need to motivate our learners. That is why there is part of the motivation there in the lesson plan. But how this motivation happens during this pandemic time? Who will motivate our learners? Of course, our parents. The parents of our learners themselves will motivate the learners. We are providing a class program where this will be followed at home. Now, who will guide learners in doing their task as part in the activities of the learning modules? Of course, it is the parent. It has been said that when instruction is delivered as a distance, additional challenges result because students are often separated from others, sharing their background and interests. So the challenge there is our learners are isolated from each other. So meaning they can't mingle easily. Good for those who are enrolled in digital, because it might be that the students are communicating through Zoom, through Facebook, and other form of digital communication. Now, it is also said that these learners, when they are isolated, they have few opportunities to interact with the teachers. Okay? And must rely on technical linkage to bridge the gap separating class participants. So this is the sad note with our distance education today, because our learners can't easily interact with each other. Now, I think they are also struggling at home. No, they are also struggling at home. Now, in our case, in the school where I am assigned, I have created a group chat not only for teachers, but also for our pupils. Even our grade 2 and grade 1 pupils learn how to text, no? How to chat, and how to post in our group chat. Anong sinasabi at grade 2 at that, at grade 1 at that. Lalagyan pa ng at para ma-highlight at Sir Andy Cabodoc. Sasabihin doon, Sir, kumusta na po kayo? This is something creating what is this difficult in feelings on my part. Why? Because I need to see these learners or these students, because I know they are also struggling at home. Now, the second, of course, teachers. Of course, the teachers. Now, without doubt, the success of any distance education efforts rests squarely on the shoulders of the teachers. Why? In a traditional classroom setting, the teacher's responsibility includes assembling course content. This is all about unpacking learning competencies and turn this one into learning objectives, and developing an understanding of students' needs. Special challenges confront those teaching at a distance. Teachers, as we said, the backbone of education. Yet, as I said, they are really part as the success of distance education. Why? Because it is through their efforts, especially at present. Some of our counterparts in the central office are telling that we have already the modules, yet some of our teachers in the field are producing or are making the modules in order that this could be delivered on time to our learners. So these are the efforts of our learners as far as distance education is concerned. In addition to, aside from that, they are also updating themselves in the webinars, because accordingly they need to be updated with distance education. Now, katatapos lang ng school namin that we have done this, what we call, I know this is also applied in your school, in your division, the LDM2, the learning delivery modalities 2 for teachers. We have already the LDM1 for the school heads and district and division supervisors, and the LDM2 is for teachers. We have already done our portfolio, and I have already conducted the technical assistance and coaching for the 2 lab leaders in our school, because we have 2 groups in rating the portfolio. It's already ready for submission to the regional office 11, because our HRDD here is already collecting this one. So if it is happening also in the General Santos City Division, kindly be on track, because this LDM2 will be collected. Okay, the next is the administrator. What is now the role of administrator in the distance education? Now, the driving post and force for effective distance education, school administrators are more than idea people. Mind it, they are consensus builders, decision makers, and even referees. Okay? You know, there are many clamors that our teachers have in the field. So it is through our administrators that will bridge the teachers and to the concern in which we will assume ourselves or assume administrators as the referees for it. They work closely with technical and support services personnel, no? Just like secondary schools and big central schools. They are closely working with the support services personnel, especially in the preparation of modules, ensuring that technological resources are effectively deployed to further the school's academic mission. So remember that our administrators, no? I think there are administrators who are attending this webinar. Remember that we are instructional leaders and at the same time, we are fiscal managers. These two are very crucial responsibilities we have in our different situations, wherein we need to have more time in our instructional leadership. So, this is the reason behind why is it that we are conducting webinars, because we need to empower our teachers as part of our instructional leadership accountability to our teachers. Now, the next one is this what we call facilitators. Now, who are these facilitators as key players in distance education? Without any other considerations, the facilitators often is a bridge between students and the teachers. To be effective, a facilitator must understand the students being served and the teacher's expectations. Most importantly, the facilitator must be willing to follow the directive established by the teacher. In our setting today, most of the time and majority, these are the parents and other immediate family hired tutors for those who can afford to. So, these facilitators sometimes or most of the times will bridge our learners and our teachers. And part of our practice in the Philippines, these are parents, the siblings, the immediate families, and the tutors who are always in communicate or in the communication with the teachers. So therefore, these facilitators have also a great role in the distance education. Kaya they are considered as one of the key players. Now, finally, we have the support staff. Now, who are the support staff in distance education? What are the responsibilities? How they occupy space in the distance education? These individuals are the silent heroes of the distance education enterprise. You have heard it right. Distance heroes. And ensure that the numerous details required for the program success are dealt with effectively. Remember that one. Remember that one. Most successful distance education programs consolidate support service functions to include student registration, materials duplication and distribution, textbook ordering, securing of copyright clearances, facilities scheduling, processing grade reports, managing technical resources, and etc. But in the Philippines setting, Some of these responsibilities are already done by the teachers, especially in enrolling into the LIS. It is the sole responsibility of the advisor herself of himself. Remember that one. So meaning registering our learners into the LIS is no longer done by the support staff, but it is done by the teachers himself or herself. Okay, now support personnel are truly the glue that keeps the distance education effort together and on track. So, as I said, these are the key players in distance education. So, we have five. Again, we have the students, the teachers, the administrators, the facilitators, and the support staff. May I now check if our listeners are still with me? Any, what is this? Can I hear from our technical working group?
Yes, here, loud and
Now,
clear.
let us proceed. Now, let us proceed in managing distance education in turbulent times. Now, how are we going to manage distance education in turbulent times? Yes? May I hear from the technical working group? Hello?
Yes, Sir Andy, nakikita po ang iyong presentation, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Can I hear uh, comments from you, from the other participants? Or I will just have to continue?
Can continue, sir.
Okay. Now, let us proceed to managing distance education in turbulent times. Now, how distance education in turbulent times? Is distance education most effective way in the delivery of instruction during this trying time? These are some of the questions. Together, let us find out in the next few slides how distance education is managed during turbulent times. Now, accordingly, adopting organizational change and positively respond to change without sacrificing the structure is the primordial need, while pace continue moving forward. Embrace change as major source of educational risk, and apparently taking risk in education means or organizational change explained by despite the telecommunications, diversity of workers, public consciousness, global education standards, and community stakeholders. Now, what about technical or telecommunication as driving force in managing distance education? What is this all about? Is it true technology that information are any Technology makes us nearer that we may able to reach each one in just a tap of your fingers and a blink of an eye. This is how technology in communication occupies role in distance education. So therefore, during this pandemic time, technology is of prime needs. Why? Why? Because this is already part, no, this is already part even before the technology must be used. Even in our class observation tool, there is really part there that technology is emphasized. So therefore, we need this technology as one of the driving force in distance education. The next one is the diversity. Diversity of workers is among the driving force which brought wide array of differing values, perspectives, and expectations caused by generation gaps. Workers in academic institutions varies as to their age. There are migrants to technology, there are savvy to technology, and there are workers who possess the 21st century skills. So therefore, in a principal perspective, we need to address diversity of workers in the school, because it is through these workers where we are directed on how are we going to attain the goals we set for the school. Okay, the next one is this what we call public consciousness. Now, why we need to let our public know the what is this? What is happening in the school? Now, educational organization is socially responsible for sensitive and responsive and demanding public for their consciousness on the update of instructional delivery. They deserve our care and information education campaign for them to be abridged on the education pursuits for their children are primarily affected and end users learning continuity plan. So ibig nating sabihin dyan that we need to inform our public. Why? Because they are somehow the end users of what we plan in the school. So therefore, we need to inform them. That is why we are mandated by the Department of Education that as much as possible, we have that what we call report card in order that our learners, or not learners, our public will be informed. Now, during this pandemic time, we can our report card in digital form. We need to create a portal for our school to upload any update that we can have in our school. So the responsibility, the accountability, and the expertise of our ICT coordinator in the school plays a huge part in the craftment of our digital what is this or portal in our school. Now we have also this one, global education standards. So this is part of the driving force. Global education standards, above all, shall be given emphasis to meet fair education and accessible to all. Turbulent times do not hamper our pursuit gearing towards global competitive learners driven with lifelong learning. So, ibig sabihin that we need to cope with the test of time. So, if we are hampered with this pandemic time, so therefore we need not to sacrifice the standard of education that we are providing to our learners. We remain to strive competitive uh, globally. So, do not stop. No, do not stop dreaming. No, do not stop dreaming. Itong bayad yan. And by dreaming, you also accompany it with your work with integrity. Ano bang ibig sabihin ko dyan? Yung work with integrity. You just do things, or integrity is doing things without being told or without other people seeing us. Just make and do what are mandated to us. And by then, we can give the best that we can to our learners. Now, we have also here the stakeholders. In any educational institutions, partnership and linkage always occupy huge and significant space. Community of stakeholders, be it internal or external, make and keep learning space active and alive. They are considered lifeblood of education in the workplace. So they are our support. They are our driving force, especially in providing some of our resources that we need in the school. Just have an open linkage to them. It is not necessary anymore that linkage shall only be between the principal and the community. Teachers can directly go to our stakeholders. They can present, no, they can present the needs that they have to the stakeholders that we have in the school. Now, finally, we have this one. No, we have this one. The shift in mindset to navigate turbulence. No? Now, administrators or educational leaders are asked to, one, do more with less errors. Now, sometimes our mindset, or where is our mindset and how we navigate turbulent times? So, this is a big question, especially to the administrator being the driving force in every school. Where there is a driver to guide the journey, there is always a space to traverse and travel on. Consequently, administrators' mindset to synergize workforce in the workplace is very significant. Taking up space in the workplace requires more initiatives and actions with less errors. Our teachers and personnel are engaged in embracing change rather than stability, where vision and cultural values are coined for collaborative or collaboration in the workplace. So this is how supposedly be the mindset of every administrators in every school, and how our teachers responded to the call of the administrators. Remember, we are always, or the teachers are always engaged, or even the entire school should always be engaged in any pursuits of the school. Because it is only through collaboration that everywhere every heavy loads that we have in the school is something easy to carry on. So, moving forward, how are we going to make a difference today? Now, making a difference is an easy task. How can we unique in our the implementation that we have in our different school? What I mean, implementation of the new normal in education. We might have different situations, we might have different contexts, therefore we need to have our plans in the school. I know every school today plan. By that, you will be guided on how are you going to implement distance education in your school. Now, integration is that. What do you mean by integration here? Proven and genuine management skills and current approaches which emphasize human touch, flexibility, and employees' well-being, making a difference is not hard to reach on. Vibrant, successful organization don't just take place, but guided to reach the destination. Now, let us have to be remembered that managerial skills and the approaches, when these are combined, we can give the best that we can, and that will make a difference to every situation that we had in our, what is this, in our different station. Okay? Now, moving forward with the administrative function in the learning institution. What is this all about? No? How the administrative function in the learning institution can be implemented. Now, collaboration of workforce in any learning institution can be sketched and plotted to four functions, which lead to the attainment effectively and efficiently of the organizational goals. And what are these functions? That sometimes the function I mean is bounded with the multitude of managerial skills to perform, as I said, these four functions. Instructional leadership and personal management can make or break the school itself. So therefore, we need these four functions. And what are they? This can be used during the turbulent time, as I said. Now, the first one is this topic. What is planning in managing distance education in turbulent time? This is the stage where goals are set. Now, these goals are attainable. What I am trying to point out here is when you are planning for a distance education, especially in the production of the learning materials, you have to think of that you have planned it well, where to accomplish, who are the people doing it will be included in the planning stage. Where during the planning time also, you have to plot the different ways on how are you going to attain that goals. Organizing. This stage, you are going to identify personnel who are fitted to do the task. And they will also be accomplishment-oriented personnel. Not only accomplishment-oriented personnel, but they will accomplish tasks with quality. It is through the guidance of the school administrators, the school principals, the school heads, that we should tell our comrades, our subordinates, our teachers in the field that they should settle for less. They will not settle even for mediocre, but always go for excellence. But the third one is what we call controlling. Now, in controlling, this will be the time that our teachers are monitored on their progress of their different tasks. We need to connect, we need to relate in order for possible technical assistance and coaching. Our teachers in the field need this. So therefore, we have to provide this one. Now, the fourth one is directing. No? Hello? Hello?
Sige, nakaano lang to siya, Sir Andy, naka-interrupt lang siguro. Sorry.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, the fourth one is directing. No, directing. Use instructional leadership and motivate teachers to do the task with quality and adhere standards. No, this is how are we going to direct our teachers. Now, these four are interrelated with each other because after you have directed, after the fourth one is done, we need to replan in order to have what we call continuous improvement. That is why I am always directing the people under my care. After we accomplish the thing we have done as planned, we need to revisit all of those. Then that will form part as our material or the raw material in the planning for this. I consider this one, or I call this one as the POTC in educational management. Planning for all, controlling for the controlling for the for C and directing for D. Okay? Now, moving forward to the teacher's competence and learning competencies. This will be now the meat of our decision or this session, the learning learning competencies and the teacher's competence. Now, we have to take note. No, we have to take note that teacher's competence will part or will tailor or will scaffold this content, teaching aids, and curriculum transaction. We need this one as a teacher because these are inseparable. No, these are inseparable. You need to have the content, you need to have the teaching aids, and you need to have that curriculum transaction in order that we can, what is this? We can have a successful teaching. Now, what are the characteristics of competent teachers? Now, accordingly, they are learners centered. Second one, they are able to use variety of teaching strategies, and they are able to develop and use instructional materials. These are not new to us. No, these are new to us. These are not new to us, as I am saying. Yet, these are still reinforced or enforced during this pandemic time. We should always still be learner-centered. We may be able to use the variety of teaching strategies. When can we apply this one? During this pandemic time. You may use this one in our assessment because there are already modules, or even the supplemental materials that we will be using or we will be giving to our learners. Now, able to develop and use instructional materials. Now, you may have a supplemental what is this materials to our modules, include that one in the giving. So still, these are usable or these are applicable during this pandemic time. Now, how can we say that a competent teacher is a learner-centered teacher? Now, these are the principle of a learner-centered, the principle of a learner-centered. Okay? One is learners construct their own plans. Let learners construct their own plans. Hindi naman po ito bago sa atin because most of the skills that are emphasized here are already mentioned in the 21st century skills or even to our K-12 education. Only during this pandemic time, our competencies are reduced. So, it has been said, when we empower learners to explore and learn how to make an impact on the world, we inspire problem solvers and innovators. Learner-centered innovation. How can we say that our competent teachers are able to use variety of what is this teaching strategies, and what are those strategies that we may use? These are not new to us. We have the cues, the independent strategic learner, something like that. So these are some of our teaching strategies we need to implement. Now see the picture here or your slide. It is said, never stop learning. So therefore, we do not have to stop finding the means in order that we can deliver instruction successfully. Okay? We have also this one. The how or the principles on how are we going to select materials and as part in the learning of our learners. Now, we have that, no? Hindi naman po bago sa atin yan, no? Hindi naman po bago sa atin yan. But the counterpart as of today, they are already using the digital as the most applicable, especially in the urban areas. But in the remote areas, we still use the television based, video based, or even the modular or the modules. Okay, now why learning competencies? Why learning competencies? Now, it is said that competencies are combinations of attitudes, skills, and knowledge that students develop and apply for successful learning, living, and working. Try to evaluate these competencies that our learners learners must possess. If you are going to mention some of which, like critical thinking, these are mentioned in the 21st century skills. Now, during this pandemic time, our learners are critical thinkers because they are independent learners. They are doing the task by their own without the aid of the teachers. Some of our parents out there find difficulties even in the guidance of their learners. So therefore, our learners will do the tasks that are provided in the learning modules. Now, accordingly, students are encouraged to connect with others and to collaborate and create with them on a global scale. It is not do your own work so much as do work with others and make it work that matters. Remember this one, no, remember this one. This is sometimes, no, this is sometimes very difficult, especially the last part. Very difficult during this time because it is still driven that working our task with others, it makes it easy and even light. But during this time, our learners are given those activities under their care, under their own place, under their own space, under their own understanding. So that is why sometimes our learners today are struggling because of what they have experienced. But I know with the proper guidance of our teachers, with the proper collaboration of our teachers and parents, our learners are properly guided. Now, how social studies teachers respond to the challenges in turbulent time? Now try to see this picture in the slide. Now, when you look at a social study teacher, these are the things that will come out to their mind. Huh? Talking about geography, talking about history, talking about civics, talking about research, the need, the society, knowledge and everything. And yet, question now, how the social studies teachers respond to the challenges in turbulent times. We are very lucky enough because some of the materials that we are used in the delivery of instruction for social studies are just found in the community. No? What about those learning areas that need to be in the laboratory? Social studies teachers that even have this learning materials or instructional materials that can be found in the community. So this studies teachers on how are they going to utilize this instructional materials that can be found in the community. So if it is not included in the activity that can be found in the modules, then try to give a what is this additional activity that will enhance our learning, our learners, or the learning of our learners. Okay, now moving forward, how about this image? Draw some thoughts. This image would like to launch to teachers and learners. Where is now the teacher here? And where are now the learners here? If you are going to look at the different connection uh, between what is in the center and that of the feet, it is boards. This is now how education in the Philippines and even the other countries are delivered. Okay? There are different modalities that we are practiced not only in the Philippines but all over in the globe. So if you can see that one, meron pong tuloy-tuloy na wires, meron po tayong broken lines, we have the feet, something like that. Okay, so therefore, this picture, as I said, it depicts